Muslims are usually the people who get spoken about. Rarely are we the ones allowed to speak, and when we do, it's usually in response to what is being said about us.
But after 9/11, when you couldn't open a newspaper, turn on the television or listen to the radio without being reminded that you were the bad guy, that you were unwelcome and that you represented in the popular imagination some type of existential threat.
I don't know how many of you travel as often as I do, but every time I go to the airport and we have to go through these crazy, ridiculous screening at the airport, I just hope it's because in a liberal society, people have nothing else to do except to screen us in that way. Mm-hmm. I hope that, but I know better.
The term Australian Muslim community is heard everywhere. It's inaccurate, simplistic and misleading, but not even religious leaders bother to correct it or explain its diversity.
Living in that queer world, that LGBTIQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex queer world, I wasn't happy because I had to then again repress my spirituality, because all the gays I hung out with were like, why would you want to stay with such an evil faith? I mean, people in your own religion are killing other people. Why do you want to stay there?
When we critique Islam, is it a one-way street? Are we also open to the criticism of Western values by Muslims, or do we dismiss them as simply not being able to take on these markers of a modern democracy?
The issue is not whether one is loved or loathed for being a foreigner, but that one is seen as a foreigner in the first place.
Going back to the multiculturalism thing, Australia's not multicultural. We don't have many dominant cultures at all in Australia. We have lots of ethnicities, and we have lots of Thai and Vietnamese and, Greek restaurants. That doesn't make us multicultural.
What's the definition? What's your definition of multiculturalism?
Well, multiculturalism would be, I think, far more effectual if all of those different cultures and values were allowed to be themselves and to share in power and decision-making in society.
It's an amazing country. It really is an amazing country. Everything's fine. Why is it so polarized? Why does everyone hate each other? Why is it the left can only go there and the right can only go there? And I know where polarization leads because I've seen it in Pakistan, and that's the end result. And I don't understand why that's a path that you're so aggressively chasing after when the average person isn't like that. I do comedy in comedy clubs. The Greens guy is just as racist as the liberal guy, and the liberal guy is just as green about some issues as the Greens guy. That's what human beings are like. So the polarization makes no sense to me, and I don't understand why Australia is doing this silly thing to itself right now. It completely befuddles me.
I think people take excessive pride in things that they did nothing to achieve. So what I mean by that...
like being born here.
Correct, so you know where I'm going with this.
And the supposedly positive notions of cultural diversity and cultural sensitivity have, far from negating or even substantially critiquing foreignness, accentuated and fetishized what is, after all, an optical illusion.
Audrey Hepburn, Sophia Loren, Gina Lollobrigida, and even the Queen were all hijabis in their day. The term hijabis is for women who wear hijab. Chiffon scarves floated in the breeze as they drove around in their convertibles with Gregory Peck, William Holden, and not Her Madge, of course.
Now, Voltaire said, I think he said, I read it on Google, that I passionately disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Well, that's just bullshit, isn't it? I mean, the fact is none of us passionately, none of us here, none of us on that side, none of us on this side would passionately defend to the death the right for someone to say something that they totally disagree with. It's not true, is it? Because the fact is we don't really believe in free speech. We don't really believe in free speech, and everything about the way our society operates tells us that.
Visit wheelercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and the world.